Neda Darbeheshti. I know. When in Australia people hear my name, they just go white. And they just call me Neda. Darbeheshti means the door to heaven. And I told this to my husband in our first date. He was from California. And he said, anywhere in this world is the door to heaven but America. Okay, that was slow. I work at Geoscience Australia. Geoscience Australia. And I look at measurements of Earth. And that makes me the natural enemy of Canberra Flat Earth Society. I am from Iran, and I have lived in Australia, in Germany, Switzerland, Portugal, in that order. And I was so impressed by Australia that I came back to live in Australia's best city, Canberra. You are great. I'm especially interested in gravity. The gravity in Iran, the gravity in Germany. The gravity that keeps me pulling back to the God-forsaken Canberra. The gravity in all those places is different. And this means if I fall over in Germany, it hurts less. Because when I fall over in Canberra, there are always going to be 3 or 4 people that they know me and they're going to get laughing. But that's not. Actually, the gravity is less in the equator than in the North Pole or South Pole. Which means I look a bit slimmer when I go to the tropics. So that's me there. I spend my days mapping the gravity of Earth, and I measure the gravity with the sophisticated instruments. Sometimes we put these instruments in the satellites and we shoot them around the Earth to measure the gravity. Sometimes we fly with the aeroplane with this instrument to measure the gravity. And I also volunteer to go skydiving to measure the gravity, but of course my boss won't let me. I map these measurements, creating maps of gravity around the world. The gravity map is like a treasure map. It basically tells us where the bodies of water or mineral under the ground. My work helps to identify where is underground water, gold, or uranium. And if you would like to know their location, unfortunately, I work for the government. And I will not take the bribe, and this means I will not take the 50% cut of all the gold you will find. So, let me show you some of the work that we are doing and how we can find essential minerals that could be the key for Australia's future. Newton's law of gravity. That's the sexy news. Newton's law of gravity tells us gravity depends on mass and distance. The more mass we have, the more gravity we have. When we are closer to the mass, we feel the gravity is stronger. But the problem is, the changes in the gravity on the surface of the Earth is very small, so we cannot really sense these changes from the place to place. So how we measure the gravity? Of course, we measure it with a gravimeter. The gravimeter looks like this. It's big, it's expensive, and it's very sensitive. As a matter of fact, it's nano-sensitive. It's a nano-sensitive gravimeter, and it has a laser inside the gravimeter. We carry the big gravimeters from place to another place, and then in each place we read a slightly different number. And here is the colleague of mine making sure the gravity is actually there. So fun fact, in the world there are just 30 gravimeters of this kind. And in Australia there is just one. And that one gravimeter is sitting in a room in the basement at Geoscience Australia. And I have the key for that room. Do you know how many people in Australia can set up a gravimeter and map the gravity data? Just 3. Me, my boss, and my body G. And we would like to keep it that way. We were more before, but our cut was less, so we did what we had to do. And now we 3 are the rare minerals of Australia. We share the key to that room where the $1 million gravimeter is sitting, and there is the strict rule of not leaking the gravimeter. So now let's go to the fun part. And ta-da! This is the map of gravity of Australia. This is the result of over 2 million measurements over 75 years. Isn't this incredible? How can I show my love for this map? I think I love it more than my husband. That's all I'm going to say. In this map, the red color shows more gravity, the blue color shows less gravity, and the yellow color is definitely not gold. This map tells us where is the water, gold, or uranium, and how much of gold and uranium there is. This map gives us a clue to where to dig for gold or uranium. I'm an Iranian, so uranium is a special interest to me. In 100 years, when finally we get our nuclear submarines in Australia, I see myself with my beloved gravimeter alone, sitting there, so I even can lick the gravimeter. And for you, and for those who are interested in the gold, this is my number. And I won't be at the back after this talk to talk about my 50% split.
And keep the close going, we have Kira!
Hello everyone, my name is Kira and I am a second year PhD candidate at the University of Wollongong. Some of you may have heard of Wollongong before, but as a brief little recap, we are about 60 kilometres south of Sydney on beautiful Darawal country. One thing we are quite known for in comparison to other areas is that we actually have quite a low cost of living. So in my experience, the rent is pretty cheap, certainly cheaper than Sydney. The petrol is cheap, and according to my cousin, so is the meth. So, you might be wondering how I got into research, and as you can all see, I am a member of Generation Z. What this means for me is that I spend about 5 hours a day minimum on social media. I do not remember the last time I drank cow's milk. And most importantly, I am absolutely petrified of a phone call. So, at this point, even my nan moves to text me instead. But let me take you back to my first year of university. I've just come back from schoolies. I am so excited to lead an active and fulfilling social life at university in the year 2020. But as we all know, instead I faced online lectures, breakout rooms, and absolutely no communication with everyone outside of my household. But that didn't really bother me. What bothered me was that in response to that isolation, everyone decided to call me. And I started to look like this. So naturally, I decided the only way to go forward is to be able to predict every pandemic before it happens so that I will never have to answer a phone call again. And when I started doing that research, the same word kept coming up over and over and over. Zoonoses. Now, I do understand I'm one of the few biologists in this room. Can't expect rocks people to understand what this word means. My mum thought it was witchcraft. Brother thought it was a Pokemon. We can't talk about what my cousin thought it was. But at the most basic level, zoonoses are when animals give us something that makes us sick. So this could be a virus, a bacteria, even a parasite. Most of the time, this makes people think of it as a linear process, where something starts out in one animal and then moves to humans and causes an outbreak. The issue with that is that everything actually exists in a much greater pool. And what this pool means is that we can essentially share things with multiple other hosts. So if we think about tuberculosis, that's actually shared between humans, cows, and badgers. So the sharing between different hosts is usually driven by us having contact with animals, whether that is direct contact, indirect contact with a contaminated source, or even meat consumption. Think of how someone decided to eat a bat at a wet market and completely destroy any chance of me having a social life in my 20s. I do wish fairly regularly that we could turn them into this instead. Regardless, as I got into my research and I started looking at what links us to different hosts, I thought, okay, cool. People should just wash their hands more, and maybe I should stop hugging random goats. But the fact of the matter is that it's a lot more complicated than that. See, animals aren't sitting in a big boardroom or a massive conference deciding when, where, and what the next pandemic is going to be, much less are they the ones sitting in a lab cooking up the next disease. In reality, everything hosts a whole suite of its own bacteria, some of which, sure, does have the capacity to cause disease in other hosts, but others will never leave that original host species. However, increasing interactions between humans and other animals and the environment makes it way more likely that these bacteria can evolve to cause harm and that we will come into contact with those bacteria. This is what we call the One Health model. So One Health essentially shows us that human health, animal health, and environmental health are all massively overlapping spheres, particularly in the modern world where we have things like urban expansion and unsustainable farming. This explains not only why we have so many new diseases popping up, but also what happens to them. Because here's the thing, right? Not only are we coming into contact with these animals, but the way that they interact with human civilization means that they are more likely to be stressed and their immune system is going to be depressed. It's kind of like a toxic group chat where you ignore one message and then suddenly you're being ghosted by your immune system. But the thing is, right, is that animals aren't even involved in this group chat, and yet their immune systems are also being harmed. So that explains why a virus can start in a bat, jump to a pangolin, spread to a human, and then suddenly everyone you know is talking about it. But, so this is about my research. Let me take you back on what I do on a day-to-day basis. So, let me introduce you to my friend Neda. So Neda actually very recently asked me what it is I actually do. Because as you all know, PhD candidates do get paid by the federal government. So, I thought about my answer long and hard, and what I ended up settling on was, I'm trying to stop the next pandemic. Which, Yeah, sounds pretty heroic, I'll give you that. Absolutely fantastic for my ego, not gonna lie. But we're all scientists here, so we know how it really looks. And as much as I'm sure you can all relate to crying at your computer, I will go into a little bit more depth about what I actually do with that computer. Because it's all fine and dandy for us to say, yeah, here's a bacteria, here's a virus, but if we don't know what's actually in it, kind of useless information. So, we take any bacterium ever. That is going to contain DNA. If you look at this DNA, you can see that there are particular colours. So, red goes with blue, yellow with green, so on and so forth. Each of those colours represents what we call a nucleotide base. Those bases are really important for a couple reasons. The first being, they form genes. So what I can do is I can look at the genes that are carried on a bacterium and figure out how likely it is to emerge as in humans and how likely it is to cause disease. The other really cool thing I could do is that I can look at non-coding ones. So I can look at the whole, like every single one of these bases, and I can compare them to other bacteria. So if a bacterium from a goat has the same base pairs as one from a goat udder, we can probably assume they're related. So in this way, I'm not just a scientist, I'm also a detective. Solving the world's greatest mysteries, like how did this disease start? Who carried it first? And most importantly, who the fuck thought a raw bat was a nutritious breakfast? My investigations have shown that zoonotic disease is a lot like bad group projects. We all have our own bacteria that are changing constantly in our bodies. And all it takes is the wrong combination of the wrong hosts in the wrong situation for it all to blow up. It's nature's reminder to respect boundaries. These boundaries might be things like, don't pat me, don't drink unpasteurized milk, or don't overheat the earth thereby destroying my home. See, it's all fine and dandy to blame the animals when we get sick, but at the root cause, it's normally us who've done that. So the next time you see someone about to eat one of these, maybe just stop them. And as much as it pains me to say, don't love goats. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, how are we tonight? Enjoying so far? Yeah? Yes? Yes, that's great. So my name is Wang. I'm from University of Queensland. I'm a PhD student and geologist there, which means I get paid to study rock and coal science. So I specialize in economic geology, which is a fancy way of saying, I actually figure out how expensive metals like copper and gold form deep inside the earth. You can also say I study how the planet makes money, but just in a much slower way, and without any of the Wall Street drama. And plus, if you're nice to me, I can even point out the near-this gold deposit in Canberra. From what I know, there are several good ones. So now I live in Brisbane, but I moved there from China. When first time people see me, they think I'm too skinny for a geologist. So yes. So some of my colleagues back to EQ trying to feed me rocks. And then I said, I only eat rocks with diamond inside because I'm under the high pressure. And they haven't offered me ever since. But there's a good sign being this skinny, which is I can literally disappear behind a microscope. See? I told you, won't even see me there. But I'm there. So most of the time I work in the lab, people won't even notice me until I popped up and scare them. It is super great for PhD students, it's great for productivities, but bad for making friends though. That's why I'm still single. I know. So what I actually do as a geologist, I spend my day analyzing a tiny but fascinating mineral that all of you have in your bodies right now. Unless you don't have teeth. or bones. I'm sorry, is this you? Ew, please get away from me. Anyway, so the mineral is called appetite. Now every time I talk about this, people assume that I don't have much in my body. That's why I'm so skinny. But that's appetite. See? Totally different things. One is a type of rock, one is a type of mineral. The other is what happens when you see a cheese ball or a cake. Different effects, but both are important for survival. So I'm so obsessed with this mineral appetite. I'm basically a geologist and a dentist hybrid. So if you ever have a tooth that falls out, even for your kids, please give it to me. I'm dead serious right now. I can literally take care of these. Because I have a whole collection. And this is my number. Call me afterwards if you want to give me anything. Alright? Okay. So I can see some of your face here. Probably wondering, wow, this girl is so weird. Why is she obsessed with other people's teeth? That's because appetite not only occur within the human body, they occur everywhere in the nature. They can be seen in the igneous rock where you have volcanoes. They can be seen in the metamorphic rocks where you have earthquake. They can also be seen in the sedimentary rocks where the basin locates. Sometimes the weird rock found in other people's backyards that mine from outer space probably has appetite inside too. It's like the friend who shows up to every party uninvited and record everything. This means that if you get to know appetite, you get to know their other friends, such as copper and gold. And you will get to know when and how they decide to show up to the party. So each tiny crystal is like a piece of puzzle piece, and my work is to put them together to see the big picture. Some people do crossword, I read rocks. Now my parents in China are so excited about the fact that I'm doing this because they think my research is going to find a lot of gold. But I keep telling them this is not how it works. And they already started their retirement plan. And they're the age of 50. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. We Asians will work until we die. Right. How can I get to know appetite, you might ask? All I do is start from the field. I collect rock samples from ore deposits, where these metals like copper and gold live billions of years and rent-free. This also means that I sometimes need to climb a long distance with 20 kilos of rocks on my back. You can also see I voluntarily destroy my stem for the rock. Yeah, that's my bag after one field trip. I don't even know how I survived this. And then I bring the sample back to the lab. I cut them into small pieces, and I made them into these tiny blocks like this one here, and I'm polishing until they shine. I'm talking about I can see my extension prices on the surface of the mineral type shine. And then I put the block under the microscope and try and find my appetite. Once I find them, I blast them with my laser eyes to figure out what kind of elements inside and how old they are. And this is me feeling extra happy after spending 5 days in the lab. No rest, with questionable result. You can see my big smile right here, right? Feel the happiness? Alright. So the whole process of me doing this is like speed dating ancient rocks, ancient crystal. You know how things work on Tinder, right? You swipe on the right, you match with one, and you spend some time reading their profiles and asking them questions like, so what is your story? Who are you hanging out with recently? And I hope they can reply. But most times they just ghost me. But occasionally one spell is secret. That's when I know the story. By knowing the chemistry of appetite, such as rare earth elements and halogen, I can figure out the fluid condition when it forms, such as pH level, temperature, and pressure. And by knowing the age of appetite, I can figure out what's the timing of the mineralizations when it occurs along with the appetite and the correlated geological events. Based on all these information, I can reconstruct the deposit history that nobody else can see. It's very similar to detective work. It's just like the crime happened like billions of years ago and the witness is crystal. And most times I think about this, I feel like appetite experience so much in their lifetime. They have seen things, they have experienced so many, and they remember it all. And really I feel better about my own problem, because if they can hold all that and exist like billions of years and still shy today, I think I can handle my shit too. Right, life is good, I've got to know appetite. And of course, what I do for this is not just for fun. Knowing appetite can help us to find new mental resources that can be part of the solar panel, wind turbine, and electric car batteries, all essential for our carbon-free future. While I'm joking here about treasure hunting, is really the science behind to make the mining cleaner and greener. So that's appetite. A tiny crystal so small you need a microscope to see it, but powerful enough to lead us $1 billion deposit. It really goes down to show that size doesn't matter sometimes when it comes to the impact. And my parents in China still asking me about, when are you going to find us the actual gold? I told them so like 2 years ago. And at this stage, I think I can just marry some dentist. So at least one person from the family, is earning money from the tools. Plus, I love to collect them. Thank you so much.
What's going on? We have Jeffrey!
Hello, folks. How are you up to now? Great? Are you ready to have some space fun? Yes. I am Jamie, and the thing we do in here, I am your neighbor space enthusiast. So I am not just a regular space nerd, I am someone who actually get paid to play with satellites at Geoscience Australia Space Division. Yes, I play hide and seek with the objects that orbit around the Earth. Now, people might wonder, why does Jamie bring a satellite to the party? Because she knows exactly to find the best position to stand. This is me in action in our office, tracking the satellite signals, looking at the ground stations. I came from one of the most densely populated country, Bangladesh, to Canberra. You know, even satellite needs a quieter place to think. And when I moved here, I felt like the city is in sleep mode. And then I think, who is better to wake up the satellites? So when I go to somewhere, to a party or meet someone, and I tell them that I'm a geodesist, it's the first time they have heard of a geodesist. My kids think I'm just a floating astronaut floating around in the space with satellites and glitters. My parents, they think I spend my whole day standing in the outside, working with hard hat, with ruler, and with an old-fashioned tripod with holding survey instruments. But when I talk to other people, they think I encode alien messages. I wish. Some other people think I'm like someone in Mission Impossible. But my satellites actually doesn't chase villains, they measure tectonic plates. So now let's talk about, have a serious discussion on tectonic plates. it's just dinner plates, but bigger. Now, sometimes when I meet people, they say, "Can you track my eggs with your satellites?" And I said, "No, we don't use satellites and science to do, villages. And by the way, I have a very high moral, and I'm a family person." And they asked me, "Can you track my teenage kids?" I said, "Yes, sure." Only if they move at millimeter per year speed. Given that I work for Australia's government, we say Australia is the #1 in positioning. Don't look at the statistics, they are all fake. Believe in your gut and yourself. We are winning the game. Some people might say that, "But we don't have any satellite constellation." But you say, who cares? When you can use everyone's data for free. So with 0 satellites, we are clearly ahead of the game. But when my boss is not looking, I'm actually a bit honest about why Australia stands. So my job in the office involves to know where exactly Australia is. So a lot of my day, I actually track whether or not we are actually crashing into New Zealand. Don't be panicked looking at the picture, because we are not crashing into New Zealand, right? Because New Zealand doesn't even exist. So remember, I came to Canberra from Bangladesh to have better sleep. Well, additional note, I came here to do my PhD on earthquakes. And boom, suddenly I see the whole world with satellites. Oh my God, everything is moving. Yes, very slowly, but nothing stays put. And by the way, normally people run away from earthquakes, but I just love them. Because I said, hey, free data for your planet without using $1 million instrument. So it's like watching Earth from outer space with a big lens of satellites. And then hits me a question. If everything is on their journey, then how do we ever know where anything is? Australia is the fastest continent in the world that cruising 7 centimeters north-northeast. So even though we are still not moving, it is actually secretly moving. And by the way, and when people do 3D, we do 4. We would add time in there. So we measure latitude, longitude, height, and time, because Australia is always secretly moving in time. Now, have you ever thought, how do we track Australian continents? And do we do that? Now the thing is, yes, we are moving 7 centimeters a year. And that's good news for Canberra, because in 2 million years' time, the winter here won't be so bad. Yes, we will all be fossil then, but it's nice to have some long-term plan. So people might be wondering, how do we get to our next pizza shop? It's called precise positioning, or magic, if you like the shorter version. So we do it by satellites, ground stations, GPS antenna, receivers, and some serious math that your brain file will go for annual leave and never come back. So that's the spoiler alert. When your GPS is taking you to your nearest coffee shop, it is actually talking to the satellite that is 20,000 kilometers away from you. And it's saying to your phone, hey, I'm here. So your phone knows where the satellite is and where you are. And with some more number crunching, your satellite knows that
that, hey, I'm sending the signals now. And the process is called trilateration. So it's a fancy word, but that means a lot of triangles. And sorry, flat earthers, the world is not flat, it's 3D. So your phone needs to see by at least 4 satellites to know where you are. And sorry, the New Zealand also exists because we keep tracking New Zealand when we have the first navigational satellites. So next time when your GPS says recalculating, just think that it is doing geometry that is 20,000 kilometers per hour when you miss a simple term. Honestly, it is just some credit. But the thing is, the satellites don't just zip to your mobile phone. They get delayed by atmosphere, bent by cloud, and sometimes the solar activity gives a cosmic tantrum. So my big chunk of day is involved in yelling at the atmosphere. And all the things is just to pin down positions with millimeter level accuracy. Yes, millimeters, because in science, close enough is not good enough. So now, we will go through the equations one by one tonight with every one of you, and we'll do some serious stuff here. Just kidding. Good Lord, some super smart people has already put all the equations in the software toolkits, in the GPS antennas, receivers, and the software toolkits. So, this is my regular work, is look at the Australia stations to understand which data I can take and which is not. On the east, you can see the civilization of Australia. And on the west is obviously the Republic of Western Australia. So this is the stations data actually look like. It looks like heartbeat, but for stations. Don't worry, they are not having a heart attack, it's just they are just looking at the pulse of the earth. So my job every day involves improving the accuracy of the stations. So next time, if you can't find, if I can't do my job good, then for example, if you want to go to a pub, and you will end up in a church. And also, I need to track all of my delivery packages that contains my kid's birthday present that has been delivered incorrectly. My work also helps other scientists, like weather modeling, sea level rise, even help manage disaster management. So we use different kind of satellites at Geoscience Australia. So the GPS from USA, Galileo from Europe, Beidou from China, GLONASS from Russia. But the more, the merrier. So I told you that I cannot track your child, but the thing is, I can do mine. And with more than 2 satellites, I can track whether my kids putting their rubbish in the right bin. And I call it satellite parenting. And if you are wondering what I'm going to do after my retirement, I have the right idea. Don't steal it. I get very excited by the millimeter level precision. My bookshelf is so precise, you can use it as a calibration tool. And yes, I got excited by millimeter. If you want, you can join me in the millimeter level fun club. And remember, I came to Canberra to have better sleep. So when all the things are, when I know exactly where everything is in the world, I can sleep better, safe and secure. And next, in the future job, okay. So all we need to do is strap some GPS transmitter to our pesky Canberra kangaroos, so the next time when it jumps to your car, you will at least have a warning signal. And by the way, if you want to track your ex with the satellites, I will be at the backstage, and with no cash, please, no of course, please cash, and with no receipt, and the money is 100% non-refundable. Thank you.
Welcome back to Bryant! Hello everyone. Thanks for listening to me again. So, in case you missed it the first time, my name's Bryant, Ware, yes, like underwear. And I'm a geochemist at Curtin University, and I study data management. But you could probably tell I'm a nerd because I'm wearing glasses. When I tell people I work in data, they always ask me the same things. Does that involve AI? Does that involve machine learning? And do I have a personality? Of course I have a personality. I had ChatGPT write me one. I based it off this guy. You could probably tell how popular I am. One thing people often don't realize about data storage is that when geoscience data is stored and managed better, researchers can interrogate the data more effectively. And you might have noticed that I'm not from Australia. I'm from Texas, born and raised, so I know quite a lot about interrogations. I get really happy when information is stored effectively, so that we can reuse it for a whole range of different research purposes. And this means that my nemesis are researchers who keep all their data in Excel files instead of in the cloud where we all can use it. After 30 minutes in a room together with me, they'll never save their files on a desktop ever again. Because I love data so much, I get so excited when I open an Excel file and there's a huge amount of sheets to where you can't even see the end. And I love these Excel sheets just as much as I love racing bikes. And I love racing bikes. My partner's in geochemistry research, and she legitimately got me a USB stick full of data for my birthday. And that's how she got her data stored more properly. Another reason why better data storage is very important is because the majority of research is funded by government grants. And when we keep the government happy, they give us more grants. And when we don't keep them happy, so what I'm doing is helping out all the other geochemists out there to optimize their data and find what the government wants. The critical metals, reaching sustainability goals, or finding the next planet to colonize when we don't reach those sustainability goals. Thus ensuring that all of my fellow geochemists are first in line for the next tranche of taxpayer money. So my specific research focuses on developing methods to reuse data that's already available, which is fantastic in the Australian context, I've learned, because Aussies are a bit lazy. Unless they're voting, and they're way less lazy than us Americans. Also, we are constantly collecting new data in a number of different ways. And part of my job involves ensuring that that data is accessible in a systematic way and stored in a systematic way, so that the data can be accessed like it's from a library, rather than accessed from a Mar-a-Lago bathroom. The cool thing about geochemical data is that it can help to understand the Earth, the solar system, through time. Collecting new information has given us insights into the planet's evolution and knowledge about its past, present, and potential future. So let me show you about some of the cool work we've been doing with data, so that we can create a lifetime of supply of birthday presents for data nerds like myself across the globe. So I started my research journey in clean labs, looking at developing extremely high precision ages of rocks. And yes, when I was in the clean lab, my glasses weren't the only thing that screamed science nerd. And I definitely had on my special little undies under that getup. Working in a clean lab demands almost obsessive levels of precision, So I had to carefully measure tiny amounts of one acid into another, where even a small mistake could mean disaster. Not just for my safety, but more importantly, for the safety of the sample. Every pipette movement, every drop had to be perfect. So that experience taught me to be meticulous in everything that I do, including geochemistry data. While my work now is much safer, the principle is the same, being precise, methodical, and deliberate. So I focus on developing systems to store and manage data more efficiently. Because I believe that being able to access and reuse our collective geochemical data will help us in tackling the critical challenges we've been basically discussing all today. In geochemistry data storage, things are split into kind of two main things. Data that's stored poorly, making it difficult to discover and reuse, and an overwhelming pace of new data generation, which outstrips our ability to apply, to archive it properly. So both issues reduce the discoverability and reusability of valuable scientific data, leaving much of the world's geochemical data hidden. So we don't actually want to store our data like this. Some of it still exists in physical formats, printed reports collecting dust on desks and shelves or Mar-a-Lago bathrooms, but others trapped in outdated digital files such as non-searchable PDFs, which is really just a bit annoying. It's technically digital, but we still can't use it at all. My work aims to fix those storage issues. I help to transform the way researchers report and release their data back into the public domain. Historically, geochemical data reach the public in a linear fashion, journal publications, but these aren't always accessible. And the sheer pace of modern science makes the approach unsustainable. So my goal is to modernize how data is stored and reported. So the huge amount of data that's hidden is actually discoverable and reusable. So you can think of it like a saltwater crocodile. The little bit you see on the surface is only a fraction what lies beneath. And just like a crocodile, is the hidden part we really want to know about. This hidden data represents billions of dollars worth of underused research. And y'all know how we from the southern United States feel about government waste of taxpayer money. So obviously my ChatGPT personality wanted to take the Doge approach. But luckily my team decided on a more leveled approach to focus on maximizing the value and getting the highest possible return on research that's already funded and setting up better systems for the future. Without better discovery and reuse systems, we limit our ability to solve what I see as the biggest challenges of our time, which is protecting the planet, mitigating climate change, discovering resources, and building a sustainable future. That's why I'm so passionate about this work. And it's not just a research issue, it's a human issue. Every one of us is generating data every single day, from smart devices at home telling everybody how long lights are on, how your AC is set, car sensor telling you how much petrol you're burning. It's like, but the best way to use all of this is to standardize it and store it in a more proper way. So standardization is like when Apple users had that dumb unique cable instead of universal charging cables. Standardization only came when the EU mandated a switch to USB-C. So suddenly, us Apple users' life got way easier. No more frantic searching for the right charger, or getting stuck on the toilet with a dead phone. I know what you're thinking. Standardization like this does make my life easier. I'm glad that dumb lightning bolt cable is history. Also, you're probably thinking he's talking about lightning bolt cables. He definitely had ChatGPT write his Anyway, this is the same geochemical data. Standardization does matter. Or it's the same with geochemical data. Standardization really does matter. But it won't happen just because someone says it should. I believe policies do help, but the real change will come from community engagement. And that's the heart of it for me. It's why I love this work, the community. It's the community. So what my team and I work on is to create practical, community-driven standards that make data sharing simple, consistent, and open. And if you're still skeptical, I'll see you in interrogation room 4. Thank you very much.
And last but not least, take it away, Joe!
Hello everyone, thank you for coming down tonight. My name is Jo and I'm from AuScope. I'm here to talk about my passion for the latest buzzword in town, research. Wait for it. Translation! Can we get a round of applause please? Alright. Good. Just have to say, I'm a stickler for words and language and spelling, but I like to spell it like this. So if you ever email me about research translation, it's cool to write it this way. So, I just noticed that a couple of people have been sinking down a little bit in their seats just now when I'm talking about this topic. Don't worry, it's nowhere near as scary as our Jurassic reporting system, AIM. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you consider yourself lucky. Instead, it's about bringing people together across sectors to collaborate and convert research outputs into outcomes for society towards long-term research impact. At AuScope, it's about converting our technology, our tools and our talent into things like mineral deposits, new policies and a whole new generation of earth scientists. It's about us behind the scenes at AuScope preparing to hand the baton over to our users and our end users. If we don't hand the baton over, no impact. We have to hand the baton over. And good news is we've got all of these different applications of earth science that we can work in with all of these people. There's so much possibility for us to translate at AuScope. Now, I'll do my very best tonight to build a relay team out of this audience and help bring our research translation interests to life. Now, the truth is, I've been training for this work for a very long time, right back to my roots growing up on a farm in country Victoria, beautiful Gunditjmara country. Just imagine this, me, little person, with my little sister, standing on a log in the middle of nowhere, singing the Rolling Stones, dancing around to a very happy pack of cows. This was my first audience, and I still really value that. So I was translating performance into pure joy for this audience. Next thing, I went on to translate fish and chips into wholesome meals for our regional town nearby. For $6.18 an hour. That equates to a half piece of fish today, so I'll let you do the math on my age there. Next, as a young geologist, I translated ancient rock textures into a titillating tale of burial, folding and faulting through multiple orogenies. Now, if there are any non-geologists here, by orogeny, we do mean rock orgy. So the more rocks involved, the more fun we have unpacking that saucy tale later. Next, I went on to translate curtains from open to close for 2 years straight, until I literally couldn't handle the subject matter anymore. You might be wondering, how on earth did she go from rocks to curtains? Well, I incentivised myself to finish my master's thesis in University of Tassie by booking myself in for a course in graphic design in Melbourne starting the next week, where I became a gift lord, creating things like this, which was unimaginable to me just a few months prior. So the beautiful thing about design is that it really opened my mind to a whole different way of thinking, well beyond the Western scientific method. I know, it's confronting. But when you couple design methods with those of science, you can have a powerful tool for innovation. Next, for me, one day, a job popped up on Seek, which had my name written all over it. It was for a marketer at AuScope, Australia's Laboratory for Earth and Geospatial Science. They wanted someone to translate complex science for normal people. I'd love to say that my geometallurgy specialisation and niche branding skills got me the job, but quite frankly, I think it was my log dance for Tim and Tanya. So here I am standing before you 8 years on, sparkling like a schist under cross polars. Yes. If you can't see, I'm also legitimately wearing this background. There's a story there. I had to have it. So I've got a passion for translating AuScope research outputs into all kinds of outcomes for government, for industry and community. It's a really good feel-good factor when we can connect with people to do things in a different way and actually generate value. Little bits here and there, but also in the long term. So you might be getting a sense that I am a bit of a colourful character. I've had a bit of a colourful career so far, and I also bring that to my fashion, except for Mondays, where I'm all black, head to toe, channeling Trinity from the Matrix. And I have to say, this is me after lunch. This particular stance, not so much in the morning. By midweek, I am channeling punk designer Vivian Westwood. My emails are really punchy at that point in the week. It's good fun. And then by the time Friday comes around, it's all drama, baby. I'm channeling my favourite drag artist in the world, Anitra. Now, I love Anitra for a few reasons. First, she serves fashion. She has homemade outfits and amazing hair. She also has a martial arts background and she brings that to her runway performances. And thirdly, she serves kindness to everybody she meets, including me, who she touched my hand last year. That was really exciting. I've got a genuine fangirl feeling at that time. So, moving on. Bear with me. What's that? Yeah. Alright, so tonight I will do my very best to build an AuScope relay team out of this audience to playfully enliven this strategy, AuScope's new research translation strategy that I built with your help. She's shiny, she's dynamic, and she's for all of us. She's our Anitra. Okay, Ben gave me the tip for that one. Do the drama. So why bother with research translation or a relay race, you might be thinking? Well, Australia has some big challenges in climate change mitigation and adaptation, natural disasters, water scarcity, defence sovereign capability, and toilet paper, apparently. Some not so funny facts. Recent data shows that most Australians have experienced at least one climate-fueled natural disaster in the last 5 years, and that by 2060, climate change in total will cost Australia $94 billion a year. So that figure sits above defence and education in today's budget terms. So, the Australian Government seeks to address these challenges across all budget portfolios, including education, that funds AuScope and 24 of our research infrastructure peers. Our Department of Education funder has asked us to adopt a challenge-oriented framework, so that's what we're doing. Tackling national challenges like a Taekwondo champion in 9-inch heels. Finding ways to connect the dots between AuScope, our researcher users, our end users, all of those applications of earth science and national challenges. So where do we start? Well, first of all, we need to shout out our value. We need to let people know everything that we offer, not just some of what we offer. For example, we've got G-plates, we've got Earth Bank, and if you call this 1-800 number right now, we'll throw in a chemical 1300HR3I code for free. We also need to support people to use all of the kit that we offer so they can fly like this guy. And we need to collaborate, get on the phone and talk to people we've never talked to before. You never know who will pick up that email or that call. For example, last year we spoke to Kathy Foley as a part of the On Prime program. She answered our email in 2 minutes straight, which is incredible in her busy chief scientist role. But she gave us some hot tips on submitting evidence for policy, and we just tried to contain our fangirl energy, to be honest. So we also need to evaluate, look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, did that outfit really slam? You know what? Don't worry about that old thing. Let's get training. We've got a race to run. So I would love to finish this talk tonight by channeling Anitra and her duck dance, give you a log dance of sorts. But the last time I tried this dance, I pulled a quad. So we'll be going for another icon to get us over the line. So that is Florence Griffith Joyner Flojo. She's the fastest woman on the planet to date. And she always believed that if you look good, you perform well. And quite frankly, that really worked well for her. So let's channel Flojo and come together in style and run this relay race. On your marks, get set, let's go! Thank you everybody, and thank you Min for making this